in terms of what's bugging me,
Yeah.
that Patrick Beverley thing.
Well, that was too easy. For me, it absolutely...
Which part?
Making that your what's bugging me, because I think that had to bug virtually everybody except Patrick Beverley. And, it even bugged Draymond Green, a guy who is cut from a similar cloth. And we had a little thing going on our show thread last night, right before bedtime, about what his suspension will be. And I look forward to that. And you mentioned it. It doesn't always or maybe Steiny said it during the break. These things don't always happen right away, but I think he's getting hit and hit very hard.
Well, and I'm going to let everybody know what happened. I don't want to assume that y'all know what happened yesterday.
Right.
It's twofold with Patrick Beverley, and we'll get to it. And Draymond Green has spoken about it. But
voice of reason.
What I always
right.
What I was texting you guys about had nothing to do with what I think is going to happen. It had to do with what I would do. And this is going to sound, at first glance, this is going to look ridiculous. This is going to sound crazy, but I would suspend Patrick Beverley for a whole year. You're not playing basketball next year. Do you really want to go to the ins and outs of what happened yesterday? Twofold. This started on the court. Apparently, the Indiana Pacers had a fan in the stands that was close to the Bucks bench, and he was a heckler. He was a heckler. And wait till you hear what he said, because my God, was it offensive. I almost want to have this guy on the show. He was so creative. Tell you what he said in a second. But let's start with what Beverly did. Beverly, at a certain point late in the game, when the starters and players who play are heading to the bench, because this thing is cooked, thank God the overhit. Another parlay for your boy.
Attaboy.
Yeah, only by one.
Cha-ching!
Hey, now.
The first game, is that the one that hit by one?
That was the one that hit by one.
Okay.
The second one was Ottoman game.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, it wasn't, but it was Knicks +3, and they won.
Yeah.
So, not Ottoman, but anyway.
Up by 24 early, you're thinking,
I was
Ottoman.
Like, we are good, and then you're losing at halftime? That was crazy. But anyway, Patrick Beverley, chest pass, right at a fan. And I mean chest pass, like the kind your
good
coach
crisp pass,
wanted you to throw when you were in high school.
Gene Hackman and Hoosiers.
Would have loved it. Step into it, snap it, get those wrists going.
Thumbs pointing down.
Chest pass. Right at the guy. Here's the problem. Right as he threw it, the guy decided to sit down. So the ball flew right over his head, whacked a woman in the temple.
Oh, Jenny.
With the ball. The ball ends up back in the hands of said heckler, and he softly...
Okay, what was he thinking?
He tosses it back to Beverly.
Try again, Pat. I'm right here.
Who then goes, let's play whack-a-mole and throw it at your head again. The guy catches it. He sits down. The teammates get there. They chill Pat out. That's the on-the-court part. Now, Grandy, do we have the sound of what happened in the locker room? Do we have this? Is it on the board over here?
He's got everything.
Okay.
Grandy brought his A game today.
Okay. I've got it. I see it. All right. Then we get to the locker room, and it's time for post-game interviews. And we've got a good little 5 to 6 to 7 reporter surrounding of Patrick Beverley to get his postseason thoughts as the Milwaukee Bucks. And yes, I'll tell you what the fans said in a minute, but let's do this first. Milwaukee Bucks are headed for the offseason, and here's the exchange.
Here. I'm sorry. Before I finish. Yeah. You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not subscribe.
So you can't interview me then.
Okay,
No disrespect.
Well, Jamal is here.
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Again, there were a couple times within a bucket or two. In previous games, y'all have been able to kind of get over that hump, or maybe. Was it anything they did in particular, or was it just one of those where the bucket didn't go down, there wasn't the stop, they made one? What kind of prevented that you all from being able to get over, kind of like you have in the past?
You'll move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you for being so polite. Now, before any of you get into the whole media versus player thing and start getting mad at us because we're in the media as if we're now caping for the media, Patrick has already called the reporter and apologized. She's accepted the apology. Good for him. I don't buy it. I'm not accepting it. He was forced to do it. You're not allowed to do what he just did. You're not allowed to do that. You can deny talking to the media, Marshawn Lynch, I'm just here so I won't get fined. You can play that way. You can't do it at the podium. Like if Patrick's team had won and he had been invited to the podium, like if he was good enough to get invited to the podium, he wouldn't be allowed to do that. You can't refuse questions from certain credentialed members of the media because they don't subscribe to your pod. Are you kidding me? Add in that this is a female reporter who's already swimming upstream because of the way the whole business works in a locker room environment. Nobody picked up for her in that situation, which would have been nice. However, I also understand the difficult spot that she's in. She handled it great, but the media there, you're sort of stuck in a spot of like, okay, if we make a deal out of this, Patrick's going to back out of the whole thing.
Right.
And now other people lose out. Maybe it would be worth it. Whatever. Okay. So these are the two things that happened last night. And then I'll explain why I think this is so damn serious. Do you want to know what the fan said to the Bucks?
Yeah, I do know.
The instigation sensation.
That's a buck.
Do you want to know what was so awful?
Cha-ching!
The fan yelled at the Bucks. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
The fan yelled, Cancun! Cancun! That's all.
No F word?
Nothing racist.
No N word?
Nothing profane.
Just the C word? And
The
not
C
the
word.
C word, but a C word?
He told the Bucks that they were going on vacation.
Because they were breaking the huddle, and the fan said, 1, 2, 3, Cancun, which is an old bit. And it goes back to, was it the Clippers? Or some team actually did that when they were getting ready to end their year. And so it's become a way to signify that your season is ending.
Yep. Like the definition of being a fan with tickets right behind the opposing team's bench is to have a good time. It's to have a good time.
Right.
It's not to be offensive.
Nope.
It's to have a good time. That led Beverly to huck a ball with full force at the head of a fan twice, accidentally hitting a woman one time in the temple, and then when given a half hour to gather himself, he wrote on Twitter, "This is not fair."
Right.
When someone posted the video of what he did, as if to say, you don't understand what was being said to us. Oh, yeah, we do. Cancun, 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1, Cancun. That's what the fan said. Now, why is this, to me, so far out of line? Draymond Green has spent the last, I don't know how many years, being the top instigator in the NBA. And he's very, very good at it. He's also very good at basketball. There's one thing, even though he has lost the minds for many of you, there's one thing he has never, ever, ever done.
Right.
And that is take it off of the court.
Break the fourth wall.
How many of you, raise your hands, please? We act like we can see you. Raise your hands if you've ever been to one of our summits. We have had, thank you, Lucas. Lucas has been.
We had 3 of them.
They're phenomenal. We love them so much. And the reason we love them is because of the energy that so many of you have brought to those events. You guys have come out and getting to meet and put faces with the names that are ripping us on YouTube and on the text line and all of that is a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. And to get all 6 of us in a room at one time is also a really rare thing and a whole lot of fun. So imagine if one of you summiteers, one of you said what some of you are saying right now in the middle of the summit. Hey, Willard, it's a clown take, bro. And I responded by grabbing a basketball, hucking it at your head, missing, hitting another listener, having the ball fire back to me, and hucking it at your head again. And then when HR calls me, I look at them and say, do you subscribe to my pod? Because if you don't, I don't have time for you. That, to me, is an absolute comp. We can never really do comps to our jobs in sports. They're different. But to me, that's my job comp. What do you think that Odyssey would do?
Well, you're fired, is what happens.
Twice.
You're fired. Well, and honestly, I mean, assault charges might be a little strong, but battery charges for sure. And I know we don't work on battery anymore, but it could certainly be battery if you hit somebody with a basketball. And, you know, if this woman was injured, she could certainly press charges and all the rest of it. But the thing about the NBA, whatever happens on the court, it happens on the court. And that's athlete to athlete or athlete to coach, or you bump a ref, whatever. That's all taken care of because that's all part of people who are being paid professionally to do what they do. But when you break the fourth wall, which is like when you see in a movie or in a play and the actor turns and directly addresses the audience. Deadpool is famous for that. I don't know if you've seen the Deadpool movies, but Ryan Reynolds does that all throughout the movies, and it's hilarious. He breaks the fourth wall, and he actually talks about breaking the fourth wall. When you're in an NBA game, the one thing that they never tolerate is when athletes break that fourth wall and they interact with fans in that way. Dennis Rodman kicking a cameraman in the groin after he gets tangled up. The Malice at the Palace is maybe the worst example of that fourth wall being broken. So for me, when Patrick Beverley does that, and he said, you know, we'd talked to security and we'd alerted them to the fact that this heckler was bothering them. Well, obviously it didn't get taken care of in the right way. And so what you did was the wrong way. And he tried to take it in his own hands. And so he will be punished very severely for that.
It really bugged me. Like, it really, like, I watched this, and you know me, like, I don't usually, this stuff doesn't really get me. I'm much, and this for me, and we all have our own line, this is the line for me. This is why Draymond Green has never overly offended me. I can look at stuff and be like, that's completely out of line. Punching Jordan Poole, you're totally out of line. Choking Rudy Gobert, you're totally out of line. However, I understand that certain personalities, when you get them in a competitive environment within those lines, things are going to get out of whack sometimes for some people. Hell, I've seen guys at the playground who you can't do it because their emotions, they're just wired that way. It's not an excuse for Draymond Green. These things are not okay, but they don't offend me like this. They don't offend me anywhere near to the level like this. Now,